A very warm welcome. Welcome to Hackveda's internship program. As we already have this meeting on 1st Feb about how we are going to conduct this internship for the interns, those who have applied from various colleges and institutes all over India. So guys, as we already discussed, that we are going to organize this internship in three phases. The first phase is your learning phase, which has to be completed between February 1 to February 25. Followed by this learning phase, we are going to have your examinations or evaluations on 26th, 27th, and 28th. Followed by, from 1st March onwards, we are going to put you onto a 6-week probationary internship role, where you are going to get technical trainings. Along with your technical training, you are also going to understand what exact role you have to do with respect to your internship, whether it is cybersecurity, whether it is Python, whether it is data engineering. All the roles and responsibilities will be taught to you during the phase of March. On completion of March phase, we are going to have internship evaluation, and post completion of the internship evaluation in 15 days between, from April, from 1st May onwards, you're going to get started with your paid internships. Your internships are going to be long up to 6 months, depending on your academic requirements. Also, you can pursue the time duration. Notice is 30 days notice is there, followed by you can reapply for the internship for the next semester also, where your stipends will be double with respect to what you are getting during your first 6 months of internship. Now, coming to the agenda of today, I'm very happy to bring Mr. Manuj Banga, Agile coach and Scrum Master, has a vast experience working in this field of agility, how to building customer satisfactory product. So I'm very glad. Manuj has been working with Airtel Payments Bank also, where he has experience of working with large teams in building great customer satisfactory products. Followed by, in this session, I would be glad to say that Manuj will be sharing his experience with us. He will share us the importance of how organizations are going agile. What is the benefit when the organizations go agile? How collectively the big teams are able to build customer satisfactory products. That is what he's going to share with us today. After this session, you're going to get a regular session with him from this duration of 7th February up to 25th or 28th February, where he will be training you on Agile and Scrum in a detailed format. Why this training is important for you? This training is important for you because you will be able to get to understand how customer satisfactory products are built, what is the approach which a complete organization follows. And this is not going to be a theoretical part. It is going to be a practical role play based session. In this role play based session, you are going to understand each and every in and out about how you are going to contribute in order to build a customer satisfactory product. As you already know, we are already in 2022, and 2022 to 2030 is the decade of inventions, is the decade of entrepreneurship, is the decade of building customer satisfactory products. So it is very, very important that the organizations are going agile, but each and every member contributing to that organization, working towards the same goal, should also understand the fundamentals of agile, followed by what is their roles and how they can make the organizations agile. So a very warm welcome, Manuj. Welcome for Hackveda Limited internship, and I'm glad that you are here to train our interns on how they are going to learn agile, how they are going to build customer satisfactory products. A very warm welcome. Over to you, Manuj.
Thanks, Devanshu. So I'll start with my introduction. So you have already introduced me and told about my current organization and etc. So and roles. So I'll just go with my overall experience. So guys, I have overall of 12 plus years of experience in software industry. So I have seen the traditional approaches of working as well, and I have seen the agile working of approaches as well. So from my personal experience, I would say that agile ways of working has really changed the ways software industry was working. And though we majority of the time work with the agile in the software industry, but Scrum and agile are not only limited to the software industry. They can be used in the hardware as well, in some other industries as well, construction industries as well, anywhere, wherever it is applicable. So overall total 12 years of experience. I've worked as a developer, I've worked as a tester, I've worked in production support. I'm not sure that you guys are aware of these terms as of now, but I think as Devanshu has just mentioned, that you will go with all those trainings and you'll get to know about all those things. And then I finally became a Scrum Master. I've played as a program manager as well, and I'm Agile coach. So apart from the software development, testing, and I'm playing role in coaching people about Agile and spreading more and more Agile to the people. That's about me. So we can, I believe, proceed with the agenda of today.
Yeah, Manuj. Yeah, we can proceed with the agenda.
Guys, before we can proceed, any questions for me as of now with the introduction part?
Manuj, we'll proceed further, and then they'll come up with the queries and everything.
So there is one thing, guys, I would really need from this session is I always want my sessions to be interactive. So I really want you guys to ask as many questions as you want, because that's the best way to learn. If you don't ask questions, then there might be chances that you won't be able to remember the things. So I want the session to be interactive and ask as many questions as you want, guys. So I see Divakar has raised his hand. Divakar, any question?
Sir, I can't hear you properly.
Okay. Guys, what about others?
Divakar, voice is fine. You need to check back maybe your internet connection or anything like that. The voice is going fine. Manuj, you can continue, please.
Okay, thank you, Devanshu. So I hope my screen is visible.
Yeah, that's visible.
Okay. So guys, as Devanshu has mentioned that our topic would be Agile. So in order to actually understand Agile, we should know that what are the traditional ways of working earlier. So any ideas, guys? Do you have any idea about Agile or any idea about Waterfall Model? Have you heard about anything? Anything, guys? I just want to know how much knowledge you already have, and then I'll proceed accordingly.
Right. And all the interns are, it is mandatory that you guys interact, because, this is not your regular classroom class where you're going to hear and go away. This cannot happen. On each and every round, there is an evaluation. And on completion of evaluation only, you will be able to proceed to the next part of your internships. Okay. So be interactive, interact with the mentors, understand how things will work, because it's going to be very, very important.
Correct. Thanks, Devanshu, for adding that. So guys, actually, this is not a regular training as you guys go for the software training, etc. So for Agile, actually, you have to be vocal. You have to be self-organizing. So you have to talk to stakeholders. You have to talk to clients as well. So it's very important that you guys interact and speak in the session as well. So these have to be interactive, and then only you'll be able to understand this. So guys, any idea? Yes, no, maybe anything about Waterfall Model, about Agile?
Right. So we'll go in a way, Manoj, we'll talk one by one with people and let's see what they know about it. So
Sure.
Guys, I'm going to take your names in sequence, and you're going to turn your cam on and let us know about what is Agile, or what do you know about Agile. Even if you don't know, that's fine.
Yes, absolutely.
But you need to tell us that what is the current status, because we are going to organize that information accordingly. Because we want you all to be able to work out well on your internships. So guys, we'll start with Divakar. Divakar, could you please turn your cam on? Let's have a quick interaction.
Sorry, sir, I cannot open my camera.
Okay.
Please forgive me. In the next class, in the communication skills class, I promise you to open the camera. Please forgive me for now.
No problem, no problem. And others, please be prepared with your camera, because you all have to turn it on. Otherwise, I'll make it mandatory from the next time.
Yeah, so guys, we are working virtually.
What do you know about Agile?
Correct.
Sir, I don't know anything about Agile. I've only heard the topic Agile and Scrum Master and some of certifications team, and don't know what is Agile and what is Scrum Master.
Okay,
Okay.
great. At least you know about Agile and Scrum Master. That's good.
Great. Coming to Prateek. Prateek, what's your thought on Agile, or have you heard about software development life cycle? Prateek, am I audible? And one more thing, if anybody is not responding, I'm definitely going to remove them out of the meeting.
Let's proceed to the next one. I think he's not.
Yeah, let's get to Subramaniam Kola.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, Subramaniam,
Hello.
please.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, please let me know
Sir, I
what.
think it's like agile methodology means like dividing some work into different parts, maybe like
Right.
into different methods.
Okay. So you're not currently clear about what Agile is, right?
No, sir. No, sir.
Not a problem. Thank you. Coming to the next person, Akshay Mishra.
No, sir, I am not aware of that.
You also are not aware? Not a problem.
No,
Gulkshya, Gulkshya. Gulakshya. Are you there, Gulakshya? Can you let us know what is Agile? I think he or she may not be in the meeting. I'm going to remove them. And also, guys, I'm making a note of all the people, those who are not responding. Definitely, I'm going to terminate their internships, So that's very important that you guys respond. Coming to the next point, Yash Gupta. Yash, are you here? Do you know anything about what Agile is? Yash Gupta. Yash Gupta, am I audible? Anyways, so he is not there. Let me remove him. Okay. Manuj, we can proceed.
Sure. So thank you guys. Thanks for the input actually. We have roles as Scrum Master, product owners, and the dev team in Agile for sure. And before actually I'll proceed with the Agile, I'll just would like to tell you a bit about the traditional ways of working. So in the traditional ways of working, it was waterfall software development. So you guys must have already seen waterfall, right? It flows from top to bottom. You might have never seen it flowing from bottom to top. So, and it is sequential, right? So what happens is waterfall model is a traditional approach to software development. And SDLC, I'm assuming that people are aware of SDLC, so software development lifecycle. So software development lifecycle is being used for both waterfall and the Agile. So that's common for both. The difference between two is in waterfall, what we used to do earlier is that, as you can see on the screen, there are certain phases. So one is requirement analysis, system design, implementation, system testing, system deployment, system maintenance. So these are the parts involved in actually the software delivery. Okay, but there are a lot of things which are happened before this. We'll talk about it. So what happens in traditional ways of working in waterfall model was that people were just working on the requirement analysis first. So suppose that there are some people which do the requirement analysis, and there are a few people which are system designers, and then the engineering team who are the actual implementation team, then the QA team, which is system testing, then deployment team, then system maintenance. So every people are assigned to these phases. So no one can move to system design before the requirement analysis is completed. And requirement analysis part is also common for Agile. So it's no different, but it's just that we make certain documents about all the requirements in waterfall. We complete that document and then we proceed with the system design. So no ways we can go from requirement analysis directly to implementation or from requirement analysis directly to system testing. That was the traditional ways of working. So what is the problem with this approach? Which we see is that people who are system designers or implementation or system testers might get bandwidth available. They might be sitting idle before the previous stage is completed, right? And is it an efficient way? We can't directly say no, because there are certain software products which can still be using waterfall model. So it depends that for which product or for which business you will be able to use waterfall, and for which you will be able to use agile. So that was the waterfall. So we have to move sequentially for all these stages on the screen. Now I'll just compare it with the agile ways of working. So just a second before we move actually. So this is just a small video just to get an idea, because what I feel is audios, visuals, videos is a great way of learning, and it remains in your mind forever. So I'm just going to play this video to see how waterfall works. This is a relay race, and I hope everyone have heard about the relay race. And after you watch this video, and then I'll explain how it is related to the waterfall. Okay. Guys, any questions from anyone before I just play the video?
No, sir.
Okay.
No, sir.
Great, thank you guys. This is the sound is audible, right? You are able to hear?
Yes, sir.
Okay, great.
Yes, sir.
So, guys, what did you see in that video? Anyone can explain, and it not necessarily to be related to waterfall, anything. What did you observe?
In this video, a player is running a game. A player is running in the game with a white color rod, or whatever we can say, a rod or some object in his hand, and the other player, or there is a window that says that you have to pass this object to the other person, which is situated from 15 meters from you. You can, if somehow you change the track or pass it to some other player's teammate, you will be disqualified. Or if somehow you dropped it, you can again hold, you can again pick it up, but only the player who dropped it can pick it. This is the thing that I have seen in this video.
Absolutely correct. Thanks, Devakar, for explaining that. Anyone else wants to try? And now anyone wants to relate it to the waterfall model?
Sir, in the like the relay race, I think in waterfall model, the one team which is developing it passes to the other levels or other like members for further works.
Correct. Yep. So I'll explain it further. Thank you guys for explaining that. And so you see that initially there were 4 teams, and we can imagine them as 4 software teams, and they have their own projects to be delivered. So the team which was leading, that was the player in the requirement analysis phases. So that requirement analysis phase for one of the team was completed, and that team was leading and moved ahead to another player, which was a system designer. So once requirement analysis was done, then the baton was the white rod, was handed over to the system designers. Now it's the responsibility, and the thing is lying with the system designers. And now they have to do their work, and then they'll run, and then they'll provide it for the implementation phase. So you saw that second player, which was waiting for the requirement analysis player to provide the baton to system designer, then to implementation in the system design testing. So others player were just waiting for the previous stage to be completed, right? You guys are able to relate now?
Yes, sir.
Great. Okay, so now we come to Agile. So as you've seen the various phases in the SDLC, which is software development lifecycle. So this smaller box is just the product increment. Okay, what here we do is, so there what you are doing is delivering the whole product sequentially. So you have to go through all the phases, and then you will be able to deliver the product at the end to the client, right? Here, what you do is in Agile, this smaller box, which you guys can see. So what does this mean is, let me just highlight it. So this one, this smaller increment is the product delivery. So ultimately what client has asked was this bigger box. Okay. But what we are giving is, we are giving it in increments. So these are applicable for the larger projects. I'll give you an example. So suppose that some client has came to your organization and they have asked that I need an online bookstore to be made. Okay. It's not a small project, it's a huge project, right? And it's a very vague statement that I just want online bookstore to be made. So you have to gather the requirements, you have to probe, you have to question the clients that what are things which are required in the online bookstore. You can't just go ahead and start developing online bookstore, right? And even client might not have the complete idea at the start that what is required. They might say that initially what I need is that I want the login page. The people would be able to log into that successfully, and then they'll be able to search a book, and then they'll be able to add it to the cart, and they'll be able to deliver it to the address. They might have some other features in the payment gateway. So they are just saying that currently the only payment is acceptable via credit cards. No other payments are accepted, right? Initially, they want to go into the market. But in the future, down the line, maybe 2 months or 3 months, client comes back to you and asks that I want this feature as well. Maybe other payment methods via debit card, via UPI, etc. Right? And even the client was not aware that he required those payment options at the start. So that's where Agile comes into picture. So you actually grab the requirements which are minimal required for a product to be delivered in the market, which can actually start generating some of the value. So in the waterfall model, you have seen that it was not adding any value initially. It was just working, people were working, and then suddenly at the end, it was adding some value when it was delivered in the market. Here, you are providing the minimal features. So for online bookstore, you know that login is required for sure. That is a minimum feature we have to have for any product to be available in the market, just like an online bookstore. Then there should be a cart for sure. We can avoid search for now. We can just provide the categories, or maybe we can avoid the categories. We can just provide the search. Okay, so just the search functionality. Once they search the books, they add it to the cart, then they go to the checkout page, they make the payment via credit card, and then they track their product. Or maybe we don't need them to be tracking as of now. We can do that in increment. So these are the minimal things which have been gathered in the requirement gathering phase. Now, the next time, once you have given these features to the client, now client comes to you and says, okay, it's been a while that we have been using it, and the payment option only available on the online bookstore was credit card. And we just gave the search option earlier. And now we want to give the categories of the book as well. Categories being sci-fi, fiction, thriller, romantic, love stories, etc. So he wants that categories to be made as well. So that's another increment. So we can go for another increment, which will have the categories. So this is the second increment. I'll just color it with a different. So now your product has increased with 2 iterations. So now earlier it was with the minimal marketable features, and we'll talk about MMF and MVP further. And then another features were added, then another features are added, then more features are added, then more features are added. Right? Why are we doing this? In order to generate revenue for the customer. So suppose if we don't do this and we just vouch to deliver the whole product once. So, and suppose that product is going to take 1 year, right? So since 1 year, till we are not delivering the product, is there anything which client is getting? We are just developing. He's not getting anything. He's not getting any revenue. He's not getting any orders, etc. Right? And he's just waiting for 1 year, and he's just investing his money and just waiting. And here, when we want to provide the first increment, this means that we'll be able to deliver it in 2 months. So now, when 2 months we have taken this product in the production for customers, he started getting some of the revenue from that. So which approach is better, guys? Now you tell me.
Agile.
Agile. Okay. Anyone else?
Sir, up to now, I think Agile is better, but I don't understand why some companies are using Waterfall also. So if you can explain that, it will be easy.
Very good question. Okay, I'll answer that. So why they are using Waterfall? We'll just proceed and I'll tell you. Okay. So tell me that I just ask you to develop a project which will just be tracking the leaves of the employees, right? It is very clear and very defined, and the requirements are very, very clear that what we want is the login and password for customer and for an employee, not customer. And then they'll be able to select the date they want leaves to be taken for. And then that might be a date picker. So date picker is nothing, but you have seen calendars in some of the sites when you have to select the dates, right? So that'll be one feature in that. And another thing is that they'll be able to select in the drop down that they have to take a 1 day leave or a half-day leave, and then it has to be submitted. That's it. And I'm the client, and I'm giving you these requirements. That's what I want, and I don't want any features in the future and nothing. So, and this is just gonna take maybe 2 weeks or 3 weeks of development effort. So what do you think? Agile is relevant here? Because we have everything defined, everything is clear, requirements are frozen, nothing is gonna change, no feature is gonna be added in the future. Because in Agile, we have, so you will understand it in more detail when we'll go in Agile, that Agile has a lot of things which has to be adhered, and then we'll be able to follow and have the actual power of Agile. So there are Scrum ceremonies. So I'll just give you a high level overview of Agile, that there are 5 meetings which Agile talks about, that we have to do these 5 meetings in order to get the value. So we have to have those 5 meetings and in a sprint. And I'll explain you guys what is a sprint. Sprint is nothing but is a time box thing, that the 2-week sprint, so that we are committing something to be completed in these 2 weeks. That is a sprint. And then the sprint has to be done. Then Scrum ceremonies, Scrum meetings has to be done. So we have to do all those stuff for Agile. So I think for this smaller project, don't you think it's a waste of time to do Agile?
Yes, sir.
So that's the actually that's why people and some of the organizations are still using Waterfall. And because of the smaller projects, because of the clear and defined requirements, so they go for a Waterfall. And if there is a complexity, changing of requirements, very I mean, client is coming again and again and asking to change something, their Agile works better. And you will understand it much better when we'll go deeper into the session. So far, guys, any question?
Sir, why, if we want low features, then we can also use Agile, and we can stop updating the software after 1 or 2 steps.
So tell me one thing, that as I mentioned, that there are a lot of meetings which we have to do in Agile. Okay. So what we have to do is we have to gather the requirements. That's the first phase for irrespective of it is Waterfall or Agile. We have to gather the requirements, and then we have to create the user stories. So user stories are nothing but there are small features which is required for that project. Collectively, we'll be able to deliver that. Those are user stories, and we'll talk about them in details as well. And then we have to do this meetings. There are 5 meetings. I'll tell you the meetings as well, since you have asked this question. It is backlog refinement, where we just discuss the meetings, discuss the stories, the requirements, then estimate those stories. Estimation is nothing but in order to get that how complex that part is and how much effort is that going to take. And then there are sprint planning, where we actually meet, all the teams meet and decide that, okay, how this to be accomplished. And then we have to do daily stand up, and then we have to do sprint demo reviews, and then a retrospective. So does it make sense to have all these meetings just for a smaller product, which will be able to complete in just 2 weeks or 3 weeks, and where we know that requirements are clear, there is no change gonna happen? And I'm not saying we can't use Agile. We can use Agile for sure, to be precise to your answer. But does it make more sense to use Agile or Waterfall? That's the question.
Yes, sir. So in that case,
It's a small product, and we have a clear defined requirements, right?
Yes, sir.
Any other questions, guys? I hope I was able to answer your question.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Any other questions before we proceed? And don't worry, guys, this is just a high level overviews. As soon as we deep dive into Agile, you'll get to know more about Agile, and then you yourself will be able to take decisions where to use Waterfall and where to use Agile. So you will get that knowledge. Don't worry about it. Any other questions? Okay.
No.
So moving further. So guys, as you know, so whenever a client asks to deliver something, what is the first thing you have to do? So you are a company, you are working, you are a dev team, or maybe Scrum Master, product manager. What is the first thing which is required for any product delivery or any project which comes to your company?
What are the requirements?
Correct. So we have to gather requirements, and the importance of requirements are that, so suppose that a project is going to take 6 months or 3 months or whatever time it is going to take. So if you don't have the clear requirements written with you, would you be able to remember that what was discussed earlier and what has client initially asked for? You won't, right? So it is very important, and this phase, requirement gathering, is actually very important to provide the value to the customer. Okay, so how to gather the requirements? So there are a couple of type of requirements as well. So there are two kind of documentation which were used earlier in the waterfall model, which is a BRD and an SRS. So BRD is a business requirement document, and SRS is a software requirement specifications, and we'll talk about them in details as well. So gathering the requirements, you all understand what requirements are, right? That if someone has asked you to make an online bookstore, so that's the high level requirement. Then you can dig deeper into those requirements. You can ask specific questions, and we'll talk about how to dig deeper to gather the requirements. Okay, so the requirements, when you capture, has to be smart, right? So this is a tool, actually. You can treat it as a tool that which could be used when you start gathering the requirements. Okay, SMART is just an acronym for specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, time-based. So specific, you have to be very specific that what is required. Here, in an example on the screen, it is given that increase my typing speed, and that's why this part is yellow. This is specific. What needs to be done? The typing speed has to be increased. Okay, so this requirement is specific. Measurable. Is it measurable? Will be able to measure it or not? So yes, currently the typing speed is 50 words per minute, and then what we want to increase to is 65 words per minute. So this is measurable, right? And then achievable. Would we be able to achieve this? So here it is just, the person is just saying that I want to increase the typing speed from 50 words to 65 words. It's just 15 words needs to be increased per minute. Is it achievable? Yes. What about, I say that I would like to increase my typing speed of 50 words per minute to 200 words per minute. Is it achievable? Or maybe 500 words per minute. Is it achievable? No. That's just an example. And then realistic. Realistic, is it realistic or not that we'll be able to achieve in a real-time scenario or not? So similar example, that if it says that 50 words per minute has to be increased to 500 words per minute, that's not realistic. That's not a real scenario we will be able to achieve. And then the time-based. Would we be able to time box it, that during what time I would be able to do that? And how much time will I take to improve my typing speed from 50 words per minute to 65 words per minute? So week, you see, each week is the time that this is the time I am telling that I'll be able to increase my typing word. So specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, time based. Any doubts in this?
No, sir.
Okay. So guys, just give me examples, some examples. I just want to hear from you. So you have seen that the example which is written is really simple. I would like to increase my typing speed of 50 words per minute to 65 words per minute. And I can achieve this goal by making small increases in my typing speed each work. So just would like to hear a few examples. Now you guys tell me, give me some examples about for smart requirements. Anything, could be anything, not related to software industry, maybe your personal goals, maybe your resolution of 2022, anything. Who would like to go first?
Sir, we can say that we can take an example of a bookseller. Like if he's selling 10 books per day and he want to increase it to 20 or 30, maybe.
Okay, so I'll just reiterate. So good example, Akshay. I'll just reiterate. So what Akshay wants to say is that currently that there is already an online bookstore available in the market, and client reaches out to you and asks that currently I am selling 20 books per month and I want to sell 30 books per month, right? So this is specific. He wants to increase the sale of the books. That's specific. Measurable, yes, it is measurable. And how much time would it require? Measurable means that he is selling 20 books right now. The client is selling 20 books. He wants to sell 30 books. That's measurable. Achievable, from 20 to 30, yes, easily achievable. Realistic, yes, it is realistic. Time based. So that's the thing which was missing. How long, I mean, how much time do you want for this increment to happen? Maybe you want this increment from 20 to 30 till in 1 month. You want to achieve this goal in 1 month. You want to achieve this goal in 6 months. So that's a time based thing. Okay, so failure to do so results in incomplete problem definition. So suppose if you don't have requirements clarified in the requirement analysis phase, so you'll have incomplete problem definition, right? I'll just give you a vague statement. Please develop an online bookstore for me. Would you be able to develop that? It's an incomplete problem definition. And if you don't dig deeper into asking relevant questions to the client, you won't be able to do anything. So incorrect program goals, there will be no goals, there will be no milestones. So as I told when I was explaining the agile slide, that the initial goals were login, then search, add to cart, checkout, and make the payment. That was initial goal. That was one milestone. And then the next one was given that I want the categories, etc. So these were the goals. Then rework, obviously, if you are not mentioning down the requirements clearly, then you will have to do the rework, because you will reach out to client and show them that, okay, this is what I have made. And the client says, oh no, this is not what I have asked. And this is not actually I need. So go and make the changes. So that will be a rework because you didn't mention the requirements clearly. Increased costs. Obviously, if you're working on something you have spent, so suppose that the team which was involved was comprising of 50 people. There were total 50 people who was included in this whole process from requirement gathering till the delivery. And that people has to work again because now client has said that this is not what I wanted, because your requirements were not clear initially. And this will increase cost because you have already spent 6 months in producing this feature, and now the client is asking for the changes. Delayed delivery. Obviously, suppose that client might say that this is not what I wanted, and I don't want to go with this in the production and do not want to make this live for the customers. What would you do? Right? You'll start feeling that it was a waste of time. So in that time, you will think that we might have reached out to client with the clear requirements and got the sign off from those people, right? So it's actually important for requirements. So there are kind of requirements, functional requirements. So we'll just talk about functional requirements as well first, and then there are non-functional requirements. So functional requirement is a description of the service that the software must offer. It describes a software system or its component. A function is nothing but inputs to the software system is behavior and outputs. It can be a calculation, data manipulation, business process, user interaction, or any other specific functionality which defines what function a system is likely to perform. Functional requirements in software engineering is also called functional specifications. Okay, so we've been talking about the online bookstore for now. So there are requirements which we actually discussed when we were discussing about the agile slide. So what do you guys think could be the functional requirements here? So it's a description that what a product has to do. Those are functional requirements in a single high level statement. What a product has to do. So a client has asked you to do to make an online bookstore. So what do you guys think that what that online bookstore should do? Open for answers.
So it should have a payment gateway, cart lists, and sorting methods.
Okay, great. Others? Anyone else? Thanks, Akshay. Anyone else wants to talk about the requirements, functional requirements? Tibakar, Mirza, Saurabh, Vijayalakshmi.
It should have a login page so that the member can log into the to his page and can access the book anyone he has so that he can continue reading afterwards where he left.
Great. Thanks, Tibakar. Anyone else would like to answer?
So it must be secure. The online bookstore must be secure from any kind of vulnerabilities like XSS attacks and SQL injections.
Tibakar, that's a good point, but that comes under non-functional requirements. We'll talk about it because the client has nothing to do with this. I mean, user has nothing to do with this, right? User just have to order the books. So functional requirements are thought from a user perspective. Always put yourself into user's shoes and think that, okay, I want to order a book. So what all features do I need to order a book? So from a user perspective, security is not a problem, right? That comes under the non-functional requirement and we'll talk about it. Okay. Any last answer from anyone? Okay, so let's proceed. So now we have spoken about the functional requirements. So you won't be able to just note down the functional requirements. There should be some ways. How could you actually dig deeper to gather the requirements from the client, right? So these are some ways where you'll be able to note down the requirements, the functional requirements specifically from the stakeholder, from the client. So brainstorming, interviewing. The best way is asking relevant questions. So if I talk about the leave management system, okay, for employees, what is required? Why is this required? Obviously. So guys, this is one major thing which you always have to ask whenever, if you have got an opportunity to talk to the client directly, or in whatever manner you guys get to note down the requirements, that these questions always come to your mind. That why is this required? Why is this required means business impact. That why did you think about making a product of online bookstore? Where did you get this idea from? Right? That's very important to understand. So, and you get an answer, you might get an answer that I have observed that a lot of people are now are getting digital tech savvy and they want to order books and they don't want to visit libraries, etc. So I think that it's a good business opportunity, and in order to provide some value, something to the customers. So that's why I want to develop this online bookstore. Who will be the users? Of course, there'll be some kind of users, right? So there's an age group of users. So people who are teenagers would like to read about some kind of book, maybe fiction, and maybe people who, for the students, they would like to read the books which can enhance their knowledge, maybe their class books, maybe any kind of books which can increase their knowledge. And there might be some people who are aged and they want to learn about politics. There are some people who want to learn about science. So who will be the users? which is actually important, because if you don't ask this question, you won't be able to develop the product right. Because suppose that initially someone reaches out to you and they want that I want books to be available for the students only. So there is no point in providing the love stories books, or the fiction or thriller books on this portal, right? Students want to learn. They want to have some kind of book where they'll be able to increase their knowledge. So that's very important. How many users will be using this platform, right? So what is the size of the users? How many users will be using this platform? So that's interviewing, and these are just example questions, and don't think that these are only questions needs to be asked. So depending on your product, you have to ask and come up with the relevant questions which can actually clarify your requirements. That's interviewing and brainstorming. So document analysis, reviewing the documentation of an existing system can help when creating ASIS process document, as well as driving gap analysis for scoping of migration projects. So what is document analysis? So sometimes what happens is people might come to you. So everyone is aware about Amazon and Flipkart, right? Some stakeholder or client comes to your organization and they say that I want to build an e-commerce platform, just like Flipkart and Amazon, right? So you already have something in place. You have Flipkart to research that what is available on Flipkart, how Flipkart functions, how Amazon functions, etc. And then you can note down those requirements based on that. And then you have to present those assumptions to the client and ask that, do you want these things, etc. And client might say, no, I don't want this. Instead of this, I just want people would be able to shop on the things and only from a particular category, and they'll be able to add it to the cart, and then they'll be able to check out. So those are the things which we have to talk to clients after doing our research from the available documents or maybe the product. Interface analysis. So interfaces for a software product can be human or machine, right? Integration with external system and devices is just another interface. User-centric design approaches are very effective at making sure that we create usable software. So interface analysis means interfaces could be humans, could be machines. I'll give you an example. So suppose that the client comes to you and says that I want to develop this leave management portal on an Android app. That's one of the interface, and that's the restriction of the requirements as well. So customer does not want it to be available for iOS. Customer does not want it to be available on a web application, just an Android app. Okay, that's an interface. So those are the things which we have to actually check it out with the client, that do you want it on Android, on iOS, or web. So that's interface analysis. Observation. By observing users, an analyst can identify a process flow steps, pain points, and opportunities for improvement. So you might get an opportunity to sit with the users. So suppose that you're already working in an organization and they ask you to develop something which is already being used, but with some changes. Okay, so you might get an opportunity to sit with the user. Okay, how is the user utilizing this platform? What are the features users are actually using? So suppose, take an example of Facebook, right? Someone comes to you, you want to develop a platform just like Facebook. You can reach out to any user and see that what are the features users are most frequently using. So that's how you sit with the users and check what are they using. Surveys, you can go with the surveys. So there are open tools available. You can go and reach out in the market, ask people relevant questions about your product, that we are planning to do this product. What all features you think that will be fruitful for you as a user? And then you can run online campaigns for these surveys to get an idea that how the users want to interact this platform, and what are they want, what are the things they want. So you can do those surveys and get the data from those surveys. So these are some of the tools and the ways by which you can actually gather the requirements. Guys, any question on this? Any questions, guys? Yes, no, maybe?
No, sir.
Okay, great. So this is another way. So this is a tool which talks about how we can actually reach out to users and provide a software or any kind of product which is actually valuable to a user. So guys, does it make any sense that something has been asked for you to do, but you don't know that users would actually be interested in that or not, right? You are developing anything for some of the users. Suppose that you want this, you think that this product should be developed like this, and this product should have these features, etc., etc. But what about the actual users who are going to use it? They might not find that feature which you are thinking relevant for them, right? So these are the ways we actually connect with the users, and we have to check who are we empathizing with. Whenever we are developing a product, we have to empathize with the people. Who are we empathizing with? What kind of users are? So as I gave example earlier, the targeted users might be students. So that means who are we empathizing with? We are empathizing with students here. We have to keep in mind that we are targeting students. What do they need to do? They need to order books, right? And the books related to their knowledge, to their classes, to their courses. That's what they need to do. What do they see? They see currently that they have to go to library and ask for the books, and there's a cumbersome process that they have to sign the register, and then they have to make the payment. There's a lot of process, and they want to just do it online, so that they just order and the book gets on their doorstep. That's what they see. What do they say? So you can ask that we want to develop this kind of product, and what do you feel that what should be available in this product? What kind of books you want? How you want to interact with this? You want Android, iOS, or etc. You can ask those questions. What do they do? What are they currently doing? So they are students, they are studying. That's what they do, right? What do they hear? So they might hear from their friends and family that there is already a product available in the market who is actually a good platform and has a good variety of books to be available, and they can purchase it from them. That might be a competitor, and you might get an idea to check that what is they providing, so that you can get with an idea that what our platform should provide, so that their users can shift to our platform. What do they think and feel? So you have to think about their pain areas. What is the pain area student goes through, and which can be resolved by this online bookstore? What do they gain? They gain the functionality, the easiness of that product, the user friendliness of that product, and that's what they gain, right? So this is called empathy map with the user. So now tech requirements. So before tech requirements, we'll just talk about non-functional requirements. So that's about the functional requirements. Guys, any questions so far from for functional requirements?
No, sir.
Great. So let's quickly. So non-functional are pretty straightforward. So one thing I think Akshay has already mentioned: security, latency, availability, consistency, capacity, memory. So this is what you have to discuss with the tech team. So who is actually going to make your product, right? So this is to be discussed with them. And what you can discuss is brainstorming, again, the same thing. How this will be done? Do we have required expertise? Can we show some prototype to client to get better understanding? So prototyping is nothing but just to develop something in a shorter duration of span, in a shorter duration of time, to show something to the client that this is what we are thinking. Do you want us to proceed with this, or do you want to make some changes? Okay. So you can maybe, and that prototyping can be anything. You can make an online bookstore by animation as well, in order just to give an idea to the customer that, okay, this is what we are thinking. You can do an animation, you can make that and show that this is how our product will look like. So that's prototyping. So that has to be discussed with the tech team, and then tech team might be able to develop something for you which you can show to the client to gather the requirements. Okay. So this is the flow chart of a online bookstore. So enter the website from the browser, then registered, yes, no. So this is a functional requirement. You can create. So what I personally feel is visualization is always better in order to make anyone understand. So if you are reaching out to client, you can make this kind of flow chart, which is easily understandable, right? Do you guys find any difficulty in understanding this flow chart? This is pretty straightforward. So you have to start. So start means that a person will enter the URL in the browser, and then the site will open. Then that is if the user is a registered user, then go to this on homepage, search for book of your choice, login. And if it is not a register, sign up using username and password. So these are non-functional requirements. On how page, search for book of your choice, select your preferred book, buy new, select a new book, add to cart, what we have discussed so far, right? And these are non-functional requirements, and our architecture just makes this flow chart basis on these questions. Latency, what should be the latency? Latency should always be low. Availability, the system should be highly available. It should be consistent. Capacity, memory. Okay, any questions so far, guys? So I'm gonna leave last few minutes for just the questions, because we might be able to understand this latency availability in the next session maybe. So I'm just leaving last few minutes for any open questions for what we have just discussed so far in this session. Any questions, guys?
Guys, if you have any questions,
if you don't have any questions, I'll ask some questions then.
Yeah, that should be done.
Yeah. So guys, at least say yes, no. Do you have any questions, any clarification required for whatever we have discussed so far?
Sir, agile and project management are the same thing or different ones?
You're saying project management and what? Could you repeat?
Agile और everybody understands Hindi? सब लोगों को हिंदी समझ में आती है? Just give us a yes.
Yes, sir.
अक्षय,
Yes, sir.
मिर्जा, सौरभ, मयंक,
Yes, sir.
हिंदी सबको समझ में आती है. मानो जब थोड़ी देर हिंदी में बात करते हैं.
Okay.
Let's so
yeah.
सबसे पहली बात ये है, हाँ प्लीज आप पूछिए please go on.
So the question is agile and project management. So these are all project management techniques. These are not only project management techniques, but ये आपको काम आएंगी जब आप agile में जब हम आगे sessions देखेंगे guys, then you will understand that how a tech team also works in agile. And agile is not only being used for software development. मैंने शुरू में बताया था जब ये session start हो रहा था कि it can be used in any kind of industry. Construction industry, HR industry, software development industry, any kind of industry. So these are techniques for project management, but these techniques has to be taken and grasped by the team. Team को ये करना पड़ता है to actually get the value and deliver the products early.
Right, absolutely right. So guys, एक बात मैं यहाँ पे आप लोगों से पूछना चाहता हूँ. एक तो थोड़ा सा मुझे आप लोगों का इंट्रोडक्शन चाहिए होगा. हम दिवाकर से स्टार्ट करेंगे. दिवाकर, थोड़ा सा आप अपने बारे में बताओ. आपका अभी करंट एजुकेशनल क्वालिफिकेशन क्या है? बिकॉज आई हैव सम प्लान्स विद 5 of you, इनफैक्ट 4 of you, दिवाकर, अक्षय, मिर्जा एंड सौरभ शर्मा. मयंक ने थोड़ा सा लास्ट में ज्वाइन किया है आई थिंक, तो विल डिस्कस. तो एक बार स्टार्ट करते हैं. दिवाकर, जस्ट अपने बारे में थोड़ा सा बताइए. आपका क्या बैकग्राउंड है, एजुकेशनल बैकग्राउंड क्या है, अभी करंटली आप क्या कर रहे हो?
Okay, sir. Hello, sir. My name is Diwakar Saxena.
Yeah.
And I am a student of IT. I am
Right.
currently studying in the college. The name of the college is Ristamji Institute of Technology, which is situated in Gwalior. I have completed my 10th class with a percentage of 91%.
अभी आप कौन से ईयर में हो?
Sir, I am in 3rd year.
अभी आप 3rd ईयर में हो. अच्छा. और आपने तो खैर साइबर सिक्योरिटी के लिए अप्लाई किया हुआ है, राइट?
Yes, sir. I have applied for the cyber security, and currently I am preparing for 2 exams: Cisco Certified Cyber Ops Associate and MTA 98 to 367 Security Fundamentals.
MTA तो डिसकंटिन्यू हो रहा है. MTA क्यों दे रहे हो?
सर इसलिए दे रहा हूँ क्योंकि मैंने सर अभी जस्ट इससे 2 महीने पहले एक वर्चुअल इंटर्नशिप करी थी. क्लीन सिक्योरिटी और कोइंसेंट की तरफ से जॉइंट में इंटर्नशिप हुई थी, 2 महीने की मैंने करी थी सर. तो उन्होंने ही उनके ये प्रोग्राम था, उसी में उन्होंने जो है MTA का ये था कि आप जब कंप्लीट कर लेंगे तो आपको फिर हम लास्ट में MTA का एग्जाम देंगे. तो
अच्छा.
उन्होंने भी ये बात कही कि लास्ट बैच है, लेकिन फिर भी वो कह रहे हैं कि आप दे लो.
हाँ ठीक है, वैसे क्योंकि अब डिसकंटिन्यू हो रहा है MTA विल डिसकंटिन्यू, मतलब डिसकंटिन्यू हो चुका है ऑलरेडी. बस लोगों के पास कुछ लास्ट वाउचर्स बचे हुए हैं, तो वो उन वाउचर्स को स्पेंड कर रहे हैं. अदरवाइज
क्या होगा जब वो सर डिसकंटिन्यू हो जाएगा? मींस कोई यूज नहीं रहेगा उस सर्टिफिकेशन का?
हाँ, वैल्यू खत्म हो जाएगी मार्केट से पुरानी, क्योंकि मतलब वो वैलिड होता है जितने ड्यूरेशन के लिए, अब तो डिसकंटिन्यू हो ही चुका है, एमटीए ही डिसकंटिन्यू हो गया है। खैर उस बात को हम छोड़ते हैं। आपको अगर आप एथिकल हैकिंग से रिलेटेड कर रहे हो तो ईएचए कर लो, एथिकल हैकिंग एसोसिएट, सेम प्राइस में ही आता है, सेम सर्टिफिकेट इशू करता है, तो आई थिंक वो शायद बैलेंस भी कर दें इन केस अगर उनके पास वाउचर्स हैं तो। खैर एनीवेज दैट इज नॉट द ऑब्जेक्टिव ऑफ आवर टॉक एट द मोमेंट। तो मैं बस आइडेंटिफाई करना चाहता हूँ आप लोगों के अभी करंट एजुकेशन क्वालिफिकेशंस क्या हैं, और अलॉन्ग विद योर इंटर्नशिप्स, क्योंकि आप लोगों ने एजाइल का ये सेशन अटेंड किया है, तो मैं आपको छोटी छोटी से रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटीज देना चाहता हूँ एज सुन एज अभी आप लोग आगे प्रोग्रेस करोगे अपने इंटर्नशिप में, ठीक है। कमिंग टू अक्षय मिश्रा, अक्षय एक बार आप बताइए अपने बारे में, आपका एजुकेशनल बैकग्राउंड, आपका सिटी, एजुकेशन एंड कौन से ईयर में है अभी आप, और कौन से कॉलेज में है या ऑर्गेनाइजेशन?
काइट ग्रुप ऑफ इंस्टीट्यूशन गाजियाबाद से, मैं थर्ड ईयर में ईस्ट का स्टूडेंट।
कौन सा ईयर है?
थर्ड ईयर।
आप थर्ड ईयर से हैं, और आपने डेटा इंजीनियर इंटर्नशिप के लिए अप्लाई किया था या साइबर सिक्योरिटी?
सर मेरा वो था एयर लिंक में पाइथन डेवलपर का।
पाइथन के लिए आपने किया हुआ है?
यस सर।
ओके ठीक है। और ओके कूल, तो पाइथन का अभी क्या नॉलेज है आपका?
सर मैं यहाँ पे अभी सीख ही रहा हूँ, और मतलब पाइथन में बेसिक्स मेरे क्लियर हैं, और मैं सिस्को से भी एक कोर्स कर रहा हूँ पाइथन का।
अच्छा ठीक है, मतलब पाइथन अभी आप एक्सपर्ट नहीं है, अभी आपने स्टार्ट किया है पढ़ना?
यस सर।
कुछ प्रोजेक्ट्स वगैरह बनाए हैं पाइथन में आपने अभी?
सर मैंने वही 2-3 छोटे मोटे गेम बनाए थे।
जैसे?
जैसे एक क्रिस क्रॉस गेम था, वो किया था।
अच्छा, मतलब कुछ अच्छा
क्रॉस जीरो।
इफेक्टिव प्रोजेक्ट बनाया है, मतलब कस्टमर की यूटिलिटी के हिसाब से?
सर मतलब उतना एडवांस तो नहीं किया, लेकिन मैं अभी मतलब उस पर सोच रहा हूँ करने का, तो 1 महीने के अंदर मैं उस पर काम करूँ।
अच्छा, आपका करियर गोल क्या है?
सर सॉफ्टवेयर डेवलपर।
सॉफ्टवेयर डेवलपर बनना है ना, ठीक है।
Yes.
कमिंग टू मिर्जा, मिर्जा तबीश, आप बताइए थोड़ा अपने बारे में।
Yes, sir. I am studying in Kite Group of Institution in Computer Science and Engineering, third year student,
Okay.
and I am residing in Gorakhpur.
आप गोरखपुर से हैं?
Yes, sir.
ओके जी। एंड क्या है करियर गोल, क्या है?
So to become a software developer.
आप जो सॉफ्टवेयर डेवलपर बन रहे हैं, ओके। कौन सी इंटर्नशिप लिए आपने अप्लाई किया था, डेटा इंजीनियर या पाइथन?
And no, sir, Java dev.
आपने जावा के लिए अप्लाई किया था?
Yes, sir.
ओके। एंड कमिंग टू सौरभ शर्मा, आप लोग एक काम कीजिए, अपना अपना ईमेल आईडी ना उस पर डाल दीजिए, ईमेल और कॉन्टैक्ट नंबर चैट पे डाल दीजिए, दिवाकर, अक्षय, मिर्जा। एंड कमिंग टू सौरभ शर्मा, सौरभ आप बताइए क्या एजुकेशन क्वालिफिकेशन है, क्या कर रहे हैं अभी? सौरभ आप अवेलेबल हैं मीटिंग में? सौरभ शर्मा, आई थिंक सौरभ नहीं है अवेलेबल। मयंक आप अवेलेबल हैं? हेलो मयंक, आपको मेरी आवाज आ रही है? हेलो हेलो सौरभ, आपको मेरी आवाज आ रही है? आई थिंक मे बी वो हैं या नहीं, नॉट अ प्रॉब्लम। खैर ठीक है। सो मनोज, ऑलरेडी हम लोगों ने कुछ पॉइंट्स डिस्कस कर लिए हैं, फंक्शनल रिक्वायरमेंट्स, नॉन फंक्शनल रिक्वायरमेंट्स से रिलेटेड। बाकी चीजें हम एक बार डिस्कस करके प्लान आउट